Can we just say the cultural revolutionary work of Viju and brother, what's your last name again?
Lily.
Lily?
Yes, ma'am.
And brother Lily, can we just really give them a revolutionary reception for what they brought? I'm telling you, I wish all the haters could have been in the room. I wish the old heads who claim to be revolutionaries, who won't embrace our young brothers and sisters, who talk and badmouth Beyonce, but wouldn't even think about putting a freedom song in their throats, or a freedom poem, or hell, anything that talks against the status quo. Girl, you going too far. Now see, if you fool around with Jaribu, you're going to be like her. Broke. Her organization is on one leg. She's being followed. She's been arrested. She's been accosted. You're going to be like her from the hairstyle down to your shoes. You want to be like that? See, that's what we want to be. We want to see young people emerging in their own right, because every movement, you can go back to the very beginning from the auction block enterprise for us in terms of our history in this empire, further back to that, to native people and indigenous children and young people who fought against the vicious status quo in the early days known as the colonial settler regimes, but now known as the big bad U.S. imperialism system of exploitation and oppression that we are not down with. And it's okay to say that and be something different. We don't agree with it. And it's no sense in trying to find something in it that you can hold on to because it's sinking fast. You look, you try to figure out if the Walmart queen is going to save you. Okay, her and her saxophone playing husband. You look and you try to see whether or not maybe if Trump gets in, we'll be more revolutionary like we were during Reagan. You know what? That's playing out too. We're under siege. We're under attack. We are at war. And it's time for us to stop acting like we're not. And I know I'm preaching to the choir. But sometimes as you get older, you lose your fervor. Because see, really and truly, we should have been on our feet. We should have been on our feet when the sister finished, without me standing up first trying to get you on your feet, or Monica standing up. You should have been on your feet when somebody under 40 gets up here and does a Malcolm speech and talks like Malcolm and sounds like Malcolm and unabashedly black in a room that is mostly white, but white revolutionaries. Can you handle it? Can you stand it? I can stand it because we are citizens of the world. We are people of the world. And every time we try to push forward, we're pushed back. I'm in Mississippi, goddamn. And Nina's song is like an anthem there. I feel like getting up every morning and singing it. I feel like going out in the streets and singing it because the state is so full of repression. And I'm not just talking about the way trans people are treated, but let's talk about that. I'm not just talking about the goddamn Confederate flag, which they continue to fly in all its bombast, the symbol of lynchings and hatred. They continue to fly it, and some of us are confused. And we are. Because the other day, a judge handed down a ruling in Cleveland, Mississippi, to dismantle 50 years of school segregation and Jim Crow. They dug up, and I believe it was exhumation, they dug up some folks that looked like me, who were on the news saying, well, the two of us have been friends. He's white and I'm black. And we never saw any racism. And if the schools are desegregated, then what about our friends? What about the classes that our students get to go to? Our children will lose their friendships with their friends because they won't be in school. Well, hell, they won't be in a school where you need a damn umbrella in your classroom when it rains. They won't be in a school where in the 7th grade science students didn't have textbooks in the black schools, but across the railroad tracks, they had textbooks. We have to do a mindset change. We need all power to the people. We need black power. We need people's power. And we need to not be timid. We need to go out blazing. I mean, really, Rosa Parks gave her last speech when she was 92. Ida B. Wells on the trail until they pushed her out of Holly Springs, Mississippi, which is where she's from, pushed her on to Memphis, and then they couldn't tolerate her there either, so she had to flee to Chicago. Everywhere you are, they ought to want you to flee. They ought to want you out. They shouldn't be comfortable with you. They shouldn't be feeling like, oh, I feel like I can get somewhere, if I could talk to this one. I feel like she might understand. She may get it. She's the exception. Just like Donald Trump said, the mayor of London is the exception to the rest of the immigrants. Well, hot damn, kiss my ass, okay? Go straight to hell. And do y'all remember the real Trump? I said Trump. I should have stayed with that. Do y'all remember the real Trump? When the Central Park, can we talk for a minute? Because, see, nobody remembers what happened when the Central Park young men who were finally, after they had been in prison for over a decade, finally were found innocent, not acquitted, not having sentences commuted or pardoned, but found innocent. He didn't apologize, did he? Because before that, he had put out an ad in the New York Times that cost $25,000 a day. He put the ad out, and the ad was full of these celebrities. Movie stars signed off on calling our children the wolf pack and savages. Well, the real savage, the descendant of Columbus, didn't apologize. After he was wrong, he didn't even apologize for that. And we're not waiting for that because we know he's crawling on his belly. And most of them, from slavers then to slavers now, if you check it, they are really beyond immoral. And I don't care if you pick up a Bible and go to church. I'm talking about rank immorality that started with the sale of human flesh and hasn't stopped to this day. So we're supposed to be talking about Malcolm. And this brother stole my thunder. Because my first thing out of my mouth, I had it in my notes. I promise you, I had it in my notes. Yuri's Malcolm. Yuri Kochiyama, who I don't know if you all know, and I studied the law, the slave master's law, and we learned about the Korematsu case. And the Korematsu case talked about the interned, talked about Japanese people who were interned in concentration camps because of the way they looked. Does that sound familiar to you? Look at our brothers and sisters in Palestine. And people telling me, well, maybe they can have two states because, everybody, they're all there now. What are you going to do? Well, hell, somebody has a birthright. The other has the stripe of a settler. And we need to know the difference and understand the difference and stop, what we doing, crawfishing just because we got Jewish friends. Well, if you got Zionist friends, you got a problem anyway. Just as much as if I told you Clarence Thomas is my friend. Hell, understand the difference between you and a Zionist. Somebody who believes in a flag being propped up in the dirt a year before I was born. Hell, how you have a country that's born in 1948? Come on, no country was established in the 20th century except a settler colony. Tell folks to wake up and tell the truth while they're waking up, or stay asleep. Or stay asleep, because these young folks are not asking permission. That's what I love about them. See, a few years ago, young people would say stuff like, well, the old people won't let us. See, we didn't grow up like that. We didn't grow up like that. We took it to the streets. We didn't get permission. We did what we had to do. And that's the reason why we can still be young doing it today. That's the reason why I'm a chameleon. You don't even know how old I am. But I got 3 grandchildren. 3 grandchildren. Okay? 3. And a grown-ass daughter. So I'm not a spring chicken. But I feel sprung. I feel sprung every time. And he brought up Cleveland. I grew up in Cleveland. You know how proud I was when the young brothers and sisters of the Black Lives Movement took it to the streets in Cleveland. And boy, what a miracle. Cleveland State, putting them up in the dorms. Racist ass Cleveland State saw the light, or was put put the pressure was put on. Because, see, everybody's not converted, but when you pressure them and they do the right thing, they try to act like, oh, I was always for the cause. No, I saw you. I knew you when you were not for the cause. But what I love most about Malcolm was that he was brazen and bold. And now, I hate to say it. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't put stuff up my nose, but I'm a TV and movie addict. So when Denzel, okay, and I'm waiting for my phone call for my date. When Denzel did Malcolm, and you remember that scene when they were standing outside the hospital, and Malcolm did this, and they all turned and walked, and the white racist police chief said, "That's too much power in the hands of one man." He was talking about in the hands of a black man. Too much power, because from the overthrows, and make no mistake about it, people wasn't sitting down singing "We Shall Overcome," saying, oh, one day by and by slavery gonna be over. No, Harriet had the rifle, had the shotgun in her hand, and she told you, look, you started out with us, but I see you crawfishing back. I see you turning into a coward right in front of my eyes, so I'm going to put a cap in your ass if you don't go forward, because I know you ain't going to have the courage. If you get caught, I know you're going to tell, you're going to out me and everybody else. So it was freedom or death. That's where that phrase came from, freedom or death. If you rolling with Harriet, you got to keep rolling. You can't go, oh boy, Monica, I don't know. I don't know. I thought I was for this, but I don't know what y'all. Okay, see, she done gave me the signal. You made me go off. It's your fault. It's on you too. I'm blaming y'all for this. So I gotta put a couple of things down, and then I'm gonna get out of y'all's way. Okay. So first of all, Yuri is the only person who can really say that she was there. Yeah. She cradled Malcolm as he was dying. You know how many people tried to say they did that? But it was Yuri Kochiyama. And I sat in her Harlem apartment many a day, and she would tell stories about Malcolm. She would talk about how he would just go out and stand on top of a fruit box. And two or three would be out there, and then all of a sudden hundreds would be out there listening to Malcolm. And Malcolm was a young man. That's why I say to you, young people, go ahead and take it. Because every struggle that has ever been won was led by young people. The Black Panthers were teenagers. The Black Consciousness Movement, Stephen Biko, teenagers. Fidel, when he started out, was a young man. And Raul, who people don't know about, Raul. Okay, you better check Raul now. Raul is not what they want, okay? Raul snuck away at 12 to join the revolution, and the parents were mad at Fidel forever because they said, you put our baby in. Fidel said, but I didn't. He snuck in. We didn't know he was there. He snuck in to join the revolution. Like Rosa Parks wasn't sitting on no seat tired like a seamstress. She was a revolutionary. She was a leader in the SCLC movement. And but for patriarchy and sexism, she and Ella Baker and others would have been given, and Fannie Lou Hamer would have been given their just due. But, like James Brown said, this is a man's world. It's a man's world. But even he said it wouldn't be nothing without a woman. So as I wrap things up, I'm reminded of the We Charge Genocide movement of the early 60s, when Malcolm was one of the first standing in African skin on this soil to go to the UN and charge genocide for the treatment of Black people in the United States of America. Now, today, he would have had to tweak things a little bit because some of the stuff was a little rough. When they were saying abortion was genocide, we'd have to work with the brother on things that need to be worked with. Everybody can be worked with. Everybody needs to hone in and modernize and clarify their beliefs. But in the main, We Charge Genocide was a movement that talked about Black people's treatment and spotlighting it for the whole world to see. He also was famous for identifying with the oppressed and the sufferers. You remember his speech about the field, and I'm not going to use the word because I don't use that word in mixed company, the field, house, The field and the house. Okay. Well, Malcolm chose to stay in the field all his life. He never went into Master's house. He never accepted the crumbs. And that's the difference between the 501c3 gatekeeping pimps and the others who take the crumbs. And it's all right if you take the crumbs. We took the crumbs, but we called them reparation. We said every time you get a little grant, you're peeling off and you're putting something aside to go and be with Monica when she call you and say, can you get to the Workers' World meeting? Well, yeah, we're going to get there. It ain't in the travel budget, but somehow we're going to get there. So you understand the difference. When you're getting the money, you understand that you're not favored, okay? You're not highly favored. They don't love you. They just think you a kinder and gentler version until you rip it apart and pull the covers off like we did in Durban, and they found out who we really were, and they dropped us like hot potatoes and said anybody who was going to be in that foundation had to sign a loyalty clause. But thank goodness I wasn't part of it, because I would have lost the grant, because I ain't signing nothing ever to be loyal. I ain't never gonna be obedient. I ain't gonna never be loyal. I ain't gonna never be quiet. I'm never gonna be polite and in my place. I'm in my place. When I'm out of order, I'm in my place. He also hated the Zionist regime and begged us to be clear and separate our religious beliefs and the Holy Land from a settler regime that's got to be toppled. He understood the difference. And he didn't hate Jewish people. He hated the Zionist system. He was our big brother. He was that cousin that said, okay, you mess with her, you got to mess with me. You got to go through me. Remember those kind of cousins? I still got some of those. And they be saying stuff like, well, cuz, if you need me, I see what you're going through. You let me know if you need me. Or I'll call up somebody, wait a minute, well, let me get my gun. I said, no, don't get your gun ready yet. Let's just try to work it out. But I got straight up gangsters in my life, and I'm happy to have them. Happy to have them. I call myself one as well. I'm a gangster for the truth. I'm a gangster for what's right. So, his biting critique of the U.S. system of slavery. Plymouth Rock, remember the quote? Yes. Plymouth Rock, what? You didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. Don't you love it? Wasn't he clear? He was so clear. And he didn't have the college, the poison that gets in you when you go to the master's schools and you think you better than your people. Even when you think you ain't better, when you pretend like, but you still think, oh, well, they don't really talk right. And what is that? What does that mean? They don't talk right. You're not English. You're not from England, so you don't talk right either. Hell, you speak a form of something, a colonized language to go with your colonization. So your language matches what you came through and what you've been through. Don't be trying to call it something else. His biting critique of class enemies of all types and shades. That's what I loved about him. He wasn't trying to cozy up with somebody who looked like him. That's why we got to understand that there's a class war going on. Condoleezza Rice ain't my sister. Condoleezza Rice is my enemy. Clarence Thomas is my enemy. Okay, and Barack, now y'all really did, no, truthfully, if you admit it to yourself, deep down, you were proud, okay? My grandchildren got to see the first black president. And if I had a speech bubble over my head, it would say, ooh, that's a Black History Calendar moment, right? Black History Calendar moment. Every Black History, February, you pull him out, you put his picture up there with the rest, George Washington Carver and all the rest of them. Now you can put Barack there with them. That and a bag of greasy-ass chips that will harden your arteries will get you nothing. Because he is president of an empire, which makes him an emperor. And in this case, one with no clothes. So, as I close, I want to share with you two quotes from Malcolm to follow up on Sister Viju's piece and Brother Lily's piece. I want to share these two quotes. He says, you can't separate peace from freedom because no one can be at peace unless he has his freedom. He says, speaking like this doesn't mean we're anti-white, but it does mean we're anti-exploitation. We're anti-degradation. We're anti-oppression. I believe in human beings, and that all human beings should be respected as such, regardless of their color. So while people try to pigeonhole Malcolm and try to say he was the hate monger, he hated white folks, he hated people, he was too severe. He was too severe. He was never severe enough. Malcolm's legacy is the only thing real. And I hate to say this because it is a failing when we say it. To some extent, when we say it, those of us who are baby boomers, and we've been out here doing this work, it is still a measure of failure if we don't open up the ranks and let these young Malcolms lead. Because as we said, as we sang when I was with Serious Business, Malcolm lives in the people's struggle. His spirit is alive. Malcolm lives in the people's struggle. He will never die. And y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here. I'm not kidding. I'm serious. I want to go as crazy as I can get. If they come for me in the morning, they'll come for you at noon. Listen to what I'm saying. They may be coming soon. There are many pages missing from the books of history. Blood is the price of freedom, and it's no mystery why our prophets disappear. Why was our black prince shot down in his prime? What about the dream of freedom that he left behind? Will we learn the lesson Malcolm taught? Will we join the battle that he so bravely fought? Malcolm lives in the people's struggle. His spirit is alive. Malcolm lives in the people's struggle. He will never die. Power, brothers and sisters. Liberation in our lifetime. Chase those crazy ballheads out of town, like Bob Marley said. The speaker, the sister, thank you, who said organize the South really sums it up. Because the history of the South is bound up with the history of a system that propped up and supported and demanded uncompensated labor. Mm-hmm. It is the reason why the wages are low. The wages that both black and white workers receive are low, lower than anywhere else. I'll give you an example. Nissan has had for the past, I can't even believe it, 12 years now, and I've been a part of that struggle since it started, since Nissan USA came to Mississippi. And they were offered and given $100 million right off the bat by the state. And I remember, and see, it's so important to talk about turncoats. And I even still use Uncle Tom, traitor, imperialist, lackey, running dog. I use all of the terms in my left-wing radical arsenal to describe the pigs that betray us, who may even look like us. So we were on a panel once upon a time in Greenville, Mississippi, and a legislative Black Caucus member said that the way the deal was cut, the way Nissan was able to come to Mississippi, was because they assured them that they wouldn't have to worry about unions. They guaranteed to Nissan that they would not have to worry about unions. That's why there is a climate, literally a climate of terror at Nissan, because workers are literally retaliated against when they congregate, when they try to organize. UAW has been running a campaign for 12 years But we see how the company union formula is not the answer. We could learn a lot from our brothers and sisters in colonized zones who really know how to resist and really know how to raise the issue of workers' rights as a human rights issue. We need that lens to look through, because what's happening to our people in terms of the work, the dirty work, the dangerous work, of course, is always assigned to people of color. And in particular, you talk about places like Mississippi, Alabama, North and South Carolina, the slave states, you will find that most of the work that is repugnant to every worker is assigned to the darker hue. And that's still the truth in the 21st century. Unions are not addressing it the way they should. They might address benefits and they might touch on wages, but they don't address the fact that across the nation, there are hostile work environments, especially in the South, where attempted lynchings occur. I was privileged to represent a victim of an attempted lynching in Northrop Grumman shipyard on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. I say this because people don't know that in the 21st century, the type of domestic terror that's visited upon working class and those who would work if there were jobs is unbelievable from the housing. And I'm so glad the brother made the connection between housing as another form of dispossession and disenfranchisement, the lack of decent housing. Forget about affordable. I'm going to stop even talking about affordable because some of the cheapest ass housing is the worst. So if we keep saying only affordable, they'll give you affordable, but they'll give you a rat trap to live in. So we are starting to think about and to hopefully organize a slumlord watch in the Mississippi Delta, where you're going to find some of the worst housing. The SNAP program, y'all remember that? You know what happened with that? Where now people have to work for food stamps, 20 hours a week. 20 hours a week for food stamps. They claim there are no jobs yet. 20 hours a week. And everybody voted for it. Our city council, which is predominantly African American, voted for it. So did our board of supervisors out of ignorance. They don't study to show themselves approved. They just lead without any vision, without any education. And that's why I say, I have said it, and I know that people struggled with me when we were turning over back and forth trying to figure out who we're going to be. Were we going to be Marxist, Leninist, or Black nationalists? I was holding on to a core portion, and I'm going to always hold on to a core portion of Black nationalism, because I believe that there is a need for a resurgence of Black awareness and Black power, because the people who are representing us, they may look like us, but in fact, they are our class enemies, and you see it in no better and no more important places than in the workplace. So the most dangerous jobs are assigned to our people, and we are in bitter battles. We are involved in struggles involving ridding workplaces of hate violence, which is what it is, where people see nooses are made, swastikas are made, Klan is recruited in the workplace. They have signs up in workplaces saying, join your local Klan chapter. So the battle ain't over. And I won't even talk about it. I'm going to let Brother Lilly talk about North Carolina, because that is insane, altogether insane what is happening in North Carolina. But across this country, we are seeing the pushback. We are seeing the resentment and hatred for the working poor and the poor. Resentment that manifests in dismantling systems that we could rely on once upon a time, safety nets that poor people could look to for survival are not there anymore. Just the other day, they closed down the funding for the mental health agency, the section of the mental health agency that addresses issues concerning male addiction. So that means that when men go to try to get treatment, they will not be treated if they don't have their own separate insurance. They will not be treated, and disproportionately, we're talking about African American men who are plagued with addictions, which is an illness, not a crime, but it's criminalized. And at the same time they criminalize it, they prop up and push forward with the so-called war on drugs, which is really supporting the enterprise itself. And they don't want to legalize certain drugs because the profit underground is much more lucrative. So it's all about profit. It's not about people. And worker struggles, we need to really, those of us who are close to unions, we need to put the pressure on for real organizing, real change in terms of these workplaces, because a lot is not being said or done, but and when you talk about this with union members or union leadership, I should say, which has yet to look like the membership still to this day, when you talk to them, they're saying, don't overtly or openly say this because it seems as though you're anti-union. I'm not anti-union. Welled up in my bones is the understanding that the right to join a union is a human right. I've always understood that. But I also know that there are company unions and that they're real organizations that speak for workers and stand beside workers in battles, and those are the kinds of unions we need in the 21st century. They really talk a lot about Brazil and how every worker in Brazil is organized. Although we know there are political problems, insurmountable sometimes they may seem, but we will win this struggle. I'm convinced of it. I know we may not see it. We might be dust floating up into the sky as ancestors. We might have to look down and see it, but it will happen. It will happen, no question about it. But I just think those of us who are in those places where we can talk and raise issues in terms of contradictions, organizing in the South should be a key issue that we raise up. And to that end, I want to invite everybody to come to the 20th anniversary of the Southern Human Rights Organizers Conference, better known as SHROC, and yours truly, no matter how many people try to latch on and say they co-founded, believe me when I tell you, yours truly is the founder, and I'm proud of it. And I think because girls don't get a lot of props, I need to say a girl founded it. A girl standing in African skin founded the Southern Human Rights Organizers Conference. And we have been doing these conferences since 1996, every other year. My sister, who's not with us tonight, Brenda Stokely, was part of it from the very beginning when we met in Oxford, Mississippi. And this time we're in Jackson. The conference is dedicated to the late but great Chokwe Lumumba, and we want. I'm already, see, when I go to gatherings, I start co-opting. I see my cultural explosion over here already, Monica. I see what we talking about here. And these two right here, y'all already know your assignments. You can tell him what y'all's assignments are. Because see, I have my people do closeout, and when they do it, I'm telling you, we got Stokely, Monica, and them ripped it up so bad the last time. It was just almost too much for some people to take. But this year we're coming even more severe. We want to be even more visceral. We got to pick up the slack for Chokwe, who's no longer with us, who's an ancestor now. We got to pick up the slack and make sure we bring it on a young brother who reminds me of him, and his own son, Antar, who's running for mayor. Again, he's going to get it this time, and he will also be on program. But I am just so thrilled and honored to be in this space. This is my home. This is my New York home. This is my space. I'm a revolutionary. I don't believe in the system at all, at all, at all. There is no part of me that believes it can work. I guess that's why I laugh and chuckle when people try to prop it up with whoever is coming. And Bernie did put a lot of fire under Hillary's ass, that's for sure. She's saying stuff she never would have said before, but for Bernie jumping out there. And Bernie got a pretty good line on Palestine. It need to be tweaked a little bit, but it's better than the Zionist road dog lackey line of Hillary. As I guess you can see, I don't like the Clintons. I ain't gonna make no bones about it. If you were on the Walmart board and the only reason you got off is because you were running for office, you are still a Walmart whore as far as I'm concerned. And Walmart is the kiss of death for working people, for grocery shoppers, for people who try to make ends meet, for workers who have to work there and make so little wages. Walmart sucks the life out of communities. And I have a button that I wear that says that. And if you want to look at my cell phone, it's my screensaver. So power to the people and organize the South. Organize the South. Yeah, and you have your flyer, but the dates are the 9th to the 11th in Jackson, Mississippi. We don't have a site yet. We got to commandeer a free site, so it's taking us a little while to find one because we don't have funding for this. It's December 9th to the 11th. You have plenty of time. We always start early. The first Holders Date flyers went out in December of this past year. We always take a year to organize, and we bring between 250 and 300 organizers every year. And since it's the 20th, we hope to bring around 500 or more organizers to Jackson, Mississippi, named after the slave master, Andrew Jackson, okay? Jackson, Mississippi. Make it there. Let's make some noise. Let's disturb the peace in Mississippi because there are people who are asleep and there are also those who are severely wounded and damaged who cannot speak even if they wanted to. So for them, we stand in the gap, we stand beside them, and we lift them up in solidarity. And if there's someone who can't speak and they push me and they say, Jaribu, could you say this for me? Hell yeah. Any day of the week, any day of the week. I will say it. I'll come up and say, I just got this note from someone and want to share it with you. Anytime, I would be happy to speak.